My body didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with me if I need to take medicine. I didn't fail. It's not because of my diet. It's because of a multitude of factors that may or may not be within my control. The thing about the food stuff is that a lot of it you can control. So it's not to say that it's the answer, it's not to say that it's a cause, but it's definitely something that you can feel the impact of and that you can also modify.
Hello and welcome to Soul Food. My name is Katharina Minwegen, and in this podcast I want to take you on a journey to ourselves and our own body, but also to everything that surrounds and nourishes us and everything that makes us happy. Let's explore this world with all its possibilities, and let's find out how we can all be part of an important change. For us, others, and this beautiful planet we all call our home. Once per week, I'm sharing my own thoughts and interview wonderful people who will inspire us with their ideas and their knowledge and invite us to think outside the box. Because traveling together is more beautiful than traveling alone, isn't it? Welcome back to Soul Food. Today is a very special episode as it is the first English episode. Everybody who knows me might also know that I'm a perfectionist, so I was a bit timorous in the past. But as so many of you asked for it, I now finally decided that I should definitely get out of my comfort zone here. Sam is a nutritionist with bachelor degrees in nutritional medicine and Western herbal medicine, and I'm so happy that she shared all her knowledge with us. This episode actually has two parts. So the first part is all about nutrition and how we can use food as medicine. The second part, which will be online next week, is about sports and nutrition. Sam is the living example of how food can be used as medicine. She was able to cure her asthma, a gluten intolerance, Hashimoto, and her polycystic ovarian syndrome only through nutrition and lifestyle changes. And as every week, I have a little quote for you. An Ayurvedic proverb says, "When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need." And you will soon understand why. Our diet has such a big impact on our body, but also on the medication we take. Taking care of your body and eating a healthy diet is the basis for everything. So I really hope that this interview will inspire you and can show you that healing does not have to be hard. It is a beautiful journey, and it can begin as soon as the next meal. Hi Sam.
Good day.
Nice to be here. We are talking about food. Well, we all know that food has such a big impact on our bodies, right? But how can food actually impact the medication we take? Because there's so many people out there taking really strong stuff on a daily basis. And I guess most of them don't know that the food they eat has an impact.
Absolutely.
So how can food impact the medications we take?
Yes. So it also works both ways. So the medications we take also influence how we digest our food. It also influences our meal timing. So for a lot of people who've taken medications that they need to take early in the morning, whether it's antibiotics or thyroid hormones, perhaps they've taken ibuprofen or aspirin. So you'll get recommendations from the doctor or from the pharmacist to say, take this half an hour before you eat something, take this on an empty stomach, avoid this, during this type of meal, avoid fatty foods perhaps, take this before bed. So there's always specifications, and they are very, very, very important. So even if we are, for example, having a headache, having some acute pain, and we're thinking, I'm just taking an ibuprofen or I'm just taking a paracetamol, that is still going to have a significant impact on the functions of your digestive organs. It's going to have an impact on your appetite, on your nutrient absorption.
Wow.
People don't necessarily consider that, but if you're suppressing pain receptors in your brain, that also numbs and influences the feelings in other areas of your body. So also it influences the meal flow. So don't take this on an empty stomach, or avoid taking this with caffeine or alcohol. Just having that, delaying your meal by half an hour, is going to impact your day flow. It's going to impact what you eat, what your appetite is when you eat. So there's a whole huge field of it's worth discussing, but in block it's a big context of information, so it's worth breaking up into separate pieces. So I wanted to just introduce ideas to sort of prompt questions perhaps that one could have with their nutritionist or health practitioner, their doctor, their friends, just to prompt conversations about it, because it is an important topic.
Yeah, it definitely is, because I mean, if I got it right, like when we eat the wrong foods,
yes,
sometimes medication cannot actually work
properly. So I mean, the thing is, it's the awareness. I don't even know what to ask about this. You know, if I'm the oral contraceptive pill, we don't even know to ask. That does affect the absorption of certain nutrients.
Many, especially young women, are taking the contraceptive pill, and many doctors prescribe it without telling these women that it deprives the body of many nutrients such as vitamin B1, B2, vitamin C, zinc, and magnesium. That means that the probability of a nutrient deficiency while you are on the contraceptive pill is strongly increasing. You should therefore make sure that your body is getting all the nutrients it needs, or even better, find a natural birth control alternative.
So it's not necessarily the actual wrong food, but it's when I combine this food, if I take this food and this medicine at the same time, the medicine might be activated in the liver. Most of them are, not all of them, but most of them are. Some of them are activated under the tongue. They're absorbed directly in your mouth. So anything that's metabolized through your liver is going to influence your detoxification, your use of vitamins and minerals. It's going to influence how your protein is built and broken down. It's going to influence your appetite, your blood sugar, and certain foods enhance the effect of drugs. So the doctor might prescribe to you, please take 120 micrograms of this. But if you take it with these types of foods, from that medication, your body's actually going to get a higher dose out of it potentially, or perhaps you don't get as much of a high dose, you get a lower dose. And then if you're not aware of that, you go back to the doctor and they'll say, it looks like the medicine's not working according to your blood tests. So we're going to increase the dose. But it's not that the medication isn't working, it's because we're taking it with a cup of coffee, which actually we didn't talk about. We need to avoid that. If you avoided the cup of coffee, for example, then actually the medication, you wouldn't need to increase the dose, which would reduce the load on your liver. So then your liver doesn't have so much work to do, which potentially affects your digestion because you don't need to detox as much. So there's a whole flow-on effect. Coffee is just an example because it's a very common one. Take my medicine in the morning and my cup of coffee. It's a very common one. And yes, it does have the potential to increase the activity of the drug, which might not be a good thing because the doctor is assuming what they're giving you, and it has the possibility to block the activity of the drug. There's this example of women, for example, taking antibiotics and getting pregnant even though they're on the oral contraceptive pill, when you mix medications and foods and lifestyle factors. So there are quite far-reaching effects, and it's worth asking questions, especially if it's specified as a time of day to eat it, before lunch, after lunch, with the meal. And if I'm eating it with the meal, do I have a special type of diet that I'm following that maybe the doctor doesn't know? Do I eat a particularly high protein meal? Am I drinking a protein shake? Perhaps the protein shake, high protein, is not good for that medication. Or dairy products. There's a lot of medications that dairy products don't work well with. And the doctor doesn't know that, and they don't necessarily know to ask, because it's more of a nutritionist area than a doctor area. They have lists of information, but you don't necessarily always think about it on a day-to-day basis, and they don't really have the time.
Definitely.
So a nutritionist, a thoroughly trained nutritionist knows, okay, what medications are you taking? Do you take paracetamol regularly? Are you on the oral contraceptive pill? If you have headaches, do you have a history of taking aspirin, or what pain medication have you used? If you're an athlete, blood pressure medication. There's a lot of things we don't even think to mention. It's like, yeah, I'm taking that forever. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything. I don't feel it. I don't notice a difference.
The problem is that most of these side effects do not arise straight away, and accordingly, we often do not feel if the effect of the medication is reduced or increased by the food we eat. But it really makes sense to take self-responsibility, and even though we are only taking an aspirin from time to time, we should be aware that every pill we take will have an impact on our body. And especially when it comes to things like aspirin, you could also ask yourself the next time before taking it, did I sleep enough? Did I drink enough? Am I stressed? Because often we find out pretty fast that there is a reason why our body is in pain.
But if you actually start to make dietary changes, we really need to take that into consideration because it is potentially going to interact with the drug. But also, on the flip side, you can actually use the food to enhance the function of the body to heal itself. And then over time, you need less and less and less of the medication until you don't need any of it. And then the food and the drug complement each other. So it's empowering because you can make the drug work better. And then also what I did in clinic for many years is you use food as medicine and you gradually reduce the requirement for the drug, and then you work with the doctor so that the drug dosage gradually is reduced and the dietary aspects are gradually improved and becoming new habits. And then, for example, when I was working in a clinic in a pharmacy, I'd have patients come who were taking 9 different medications regularly. They're taking thyroxine, they're taking an antibiotic because they have frequent infections, they're taking a blood pressure medication, you know, all these different things. They're taking drugs to reduce the side effects of the other drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'd get sent someone from the pharmacist or from the local doctor who's got all this cocktail of medications that they need to manage their day-to-day stuff. And I'd look at that, and then I'd look at their lifestyle patterns, their daily rhythms, their work, their stress, their movement, and what they're eating and when. And then we could just tick off, get a group of 9 medications perhaps down to 2.
Wow.
And of course the side effects of that means that they're energized, they're not having as many other complications that they didn't even realize before, and their feedback is, I didn't even know I could feel this good because I was popping pills all day and taking a supplement as well as taking vitamins to get more energy because the medications were reducing my absorption of the vitamins and my digestion was poor, and now I don't even need the supplements anymore. I'm just doing it through food.
Yeah.
And it's very empowering to not need to pop pills all day and to feel like I'm eating food and it's delicious and I'm enjoying making it and it's relaxing and it's meditative and it's healing me. Making the food is healing me. Buying the food, knowing how I'm going to feel when I consume the food is healing me. The whole relationship is healing me, and knowing that my body is healing itself. The medication didn't heal me, the supplements didn't heal me, my body's doing the work itself and I'm just nourishing it.
Yeah.
So that sort of like flip of going, I'm not sick, I'm in a process of healing, and either it's working well for me at the moment or it's needing a bit of support.
Yeah.
And so I really find food a source when we understand the power it can have on our daily rhythm, on our mood, on our sleep quality, and on how our medications are working. Long-term ailments can become very short-term, and we start to unpack the layers of healing that we need, and we start to realize that I've got a whole layer here that I haven't even nourished for 10 years or 20 years or since a long time, but now all the other loud problems have reduced. I can now start to focus on that. And people feel so much more connected, and I find that very exciting.
Yeah, and that's so empowering to know that our body is actually capable to heal itself. And it's so funny because you just said that medication is not healing us, and I actually think that's never the case. Medication can never heal us.
No,
because
it's supporting the process in the body.
Exactly.
But the body's responsible for the process.
Yeah, exactly.
So the medication can up-regulate the process, down-regulate the process.
Yeah.
So the medication's making up for something that perhaps is a bit dysfunctional, but the body's capable, not always, but in a lot of cases, is quite capable of making it functional again. It just needs the medication for a period of time to sort of get the flow going again. And then you gradually reduce it over time, and the body, it's literally like you're learning to ride your bike again. The body's like, okay, I can't do this. I have a trauma, I have an injury here, the bike's broken, my leg's sprained, I can't get the pedals flowing, I just can't. So I need someone to help me. I need some training wheels, I need a new bike, I need time to heal, so that the medications can be that. And a lot of people say, oh, medications are bad. They're absolutely not when they're used appropriately. And when you have a context of going, what's going on for me? What do I need? Okay, the drug is not the answer, but it's supporting the process. And then gradually I can take the training wheels off, I get the pedals flowing again, I don't need the extra support, but that also takes time. I'm definitely not a fan of going off the drug. Oh, the pill is bad, I'm going to just stop taking it. Well, maybe not necessarily taking it for contraception. You could have been taking it for skin issues. There might be a flare-up. Something might get worse before it gets better when we do that. If you just take the training wheels off someone who's not ready, you can do harm. So you work with the doctor and say, I feel like something else in my life is starting to work better now, and I'm looking at other things that I can sort of unpack here to make things a bit more simple for myself. And then you can look at the drugs and go, okay, maybe I don't really need to be taking that. And then you can gradually reduce it and bring in the foods. And then you get excited to go shopping. Like, oh my goodness, I heard this is good for that. I'm so excited to go buy mung beans right now. Like, I didn't even know where the mung beans were in the shop. Show me the mung beans.
Yeah.
And then you discover all these new foods, and also you get to know your supermarket better, which is always a good thing, to find nice little gems in there that can contribute to an amazing crunchy recipe, or, something that just creates this taste sensation that you hadn't experienced before, and it's fun.
Yeah, but I think in the end it's also a bit, I mean, I'm pretty sure you see that when you work with your clients. So many people out there just want a quick fix.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem. That's the whole problem about it, because healing takes time. I think there's so many people and they just want a pill and then everything's gonna be okay. But that's not how it works, right?
We're often sold that idea as well. That's the whole weight loss pill idea. So in order to believe that, you need to ignore human biology. To believe that a pill is going to help you lose weight ignores the way the body functions. So I definitely sold that idea. Yes, healing takes time, and it's not simple, and our body is wise beyond our comprehension. There is, however, hope in that feeling bucket loads better is just a meal away. So, for example, I am also a fan of interval fasting. So we shouldn't medicate with food, but we create an environment for our body where it's able to do what it does best. Our body is incredibly efficient at healing. So it does take time, it's quite complicated, but it's also incredibly quick and efficient because we're constantly healing. We're constantly getting injured and healing. We're constantly battling with things in our environment that we can't even comprehend. We don't even know all the battles that we're winning. So it's not that when we're getting sick or I need to take a medicine that I failed. We're constantly winning against whatever is trying to hurt us. But the body's evolving and changing and shifting. So every time we consume a meal, and every time we digest it in the best environment possible, our body is interacting with the chemicals and the nutrients and the energy of what we just consumed. So we get the good vibes out of that. But if we're eating too regularly, we're keeping the system very busy and it's not able to do its best work. It also needs a break, like the rest of us. So that's another topic we were talking about in the sports nutrition topic. But giving the body a break. So not eating every 2 hours, like allowing the digestive organs to have a break. That's also the thing when you take the medication, that if it's metabolized in the liver, a part of it's broken down in the stomach, it needs to go through a journey. And the same thing when we eat our meal. The meal takes time to digest. So food is delicious. It impacts our hormones. It gives us happy feelings. So we need to take the time to taste it. It's not just the ingredients of the food that have an impact on us and help us heal and regenerate cells. It's also the smell of the food, the consistency of the food, the ideas that we have about the food. What am I eating this for? Am I eating it because it was on special and I need something before I go to whatever I'm about to start? Or am I eating it because it smells amazing and I've been looking forward to this all day? Or I have a memory that this is what I eat when I'm with my family or with my best friend? Or, this smell and this aroma creates a whole biological reaction that is healing us. And it's not about the quantity of the food, it's not about the exact composition of the food, but just the relationship with sitting down, eating a meal, and this is nourishing me mentally. I'm feeling calm, I'm taking the time now to eat it. The ideas I have about it are soothing my soul, and it's also got vitamins and minerals and protein and fatty acids and all kinds of antioxidants that are helping my cells function in their best way. But that's also what the drugs are trying to do. But the drugs are not as complicated as the food, actually. The drug actions are quite simple. The food is very complex. So we can actually achieve a lot. We can heal multiple diseases or multiple pains and inflammations, like just through the one meal, whereas the drug is actually functioning very specifically for one mode of action. But the food itself can just do wonderful, wonderful things. Yeah. I like food.
Well, me too.
I am a fan.
Yeah, and actually I think what I really like what you just said is also, sitting down and taking time to eat, because I think that's also part of our super hectic world, that we just eat in between doing different things, and we sometimes not even sit down. And I see that because I just started that new job. Being at the office is so new for me, but I always try to take that 1 hour break and really relax and really eat healthy food and not just get some fatty stuff around the corner. I just take time to prepare a nice lunch the night before. Obviously sometimes we don't have the time, but that investment is so important for our health and for our mental health as well. And we often have enough time to watch that movie or think about how much time we waste every day on social media. But we do not have the time to cook ourselves a healthy meal. Being replete is often the only reason why we eat, and that happens often at the expenses of food quality. But what is more important than our body and our health? Only when we get sick, we start realizing that there's nothing more important than our health. So sit down and take enough time for your meals. Chew, eat consciously, and help your body to get all the nutrients it needs.
Well, it's preventative medicine, actually. So every time we go grocery shopping, it's an opportunity to execute our preventative medicine. So in such circumstances where we say, look, I'm really busy and I have a bakery on the right side of the street and I have a Dönerladen on the other corner of the street, and I'm sort of stuck between two evils in my perception. They're not necessarily so. The thing is, you got to eat a food and you want to feel good. And the question is, I'm eating this and I know what I'm going to do following this. I'm eating this because I need an energy, I need a feeling, I'm seeking something in order to perform an action. Because ultimately, what are we eating when we consume food? We're eating energy and all the components that interact in order to create energy for us. So it's heat exchange. But what do I want to do with my energy? Where do I want to direct it? Where do I want to focus it? And when we understand the effect that food has on us, we can feel our energy shift and we can recognize, oh, that doesn't feel better. Or, oh, I feel amazing. Oh my goodness, I'm actually so energized. I can't sit still. I didn't think I had the energy to go for a run, but I could actually go for a run now after work. I'm like, phew, hi. Or I'm so hyped up, I need to wind down. I recognize this is what that had an effect for. I might shift that and maybe I'll next time try that earlier in the day when I want that kind of energy. But that's basically using food as a drug. How do I want to feel? Oh, I'm in pain. I recognize recently, if I reflect upon my pain, I have muscle pains, or I've got a sore throat, or I've got a headache, or, you know, muscle spasms. I mean, we can talk about magnesium, sure. We could talk about calcium, all the nutrients that are recognized to be involved in a muscle spasm. I don't think there's anyone that I know who hasn't sat there and be like, okay, I definitely need to take something. I mean, my neck, my shoulder, like just everyday stuff. But rather than think of the nutrient, what about reflecting upon what's led up to this muscle spasm? Yes, we can talk about posture, we can talk about my movement, how I slept and all the rest of it. There's also the consideration, my posture has been slouched, my energy has been sort of tucked down and pushed down. I've been pushing on my stomach. I didn't have this open space, I wasn't breathing. So I didn't have an appetite for a big meal. And to substitute a meal, what have I been eating? Yep, okay, I had a pizza, I've been drinking some beer because I needed to wind down, I've had, 6 coffees a day. It's not necessarily that my body is not getting enough magnesium, for example, if that's associated with it. It's not always the case, but it's not necessarily that I didn't get enough magnesium. It's that all of the activities that I engaged in recently leached magnesium out of my body. I'm potentially definitely eating a sufficient amount of magnesium, but my stress level, my cortisol is so high. I'm waking up groggy, I'm going to bed at 1 a.m, I'm never waking up feeling refreshed. I'm constantly feeling stuck in my digestion. I'm constantly feeling stiff in my lower back. And if I reflect upon that, okay, yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's the chicken or the egg, but if we look at going, you know what, I've been eating at the bakery a lot recently, or, I've been consuming perhaps a lot of gluten. Gluten's not in itself bad, but if you're eating a lot of it in a short space of time, it's a big load on your system. I'm reflecting that might have affected my digestion, which might have affected my energy flow, which could be contributing to my state of pain at the moment. If we can track it back, and then you go, you know what, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't do anything bad, but I can learn from that and go, you know what, I think that has an effect on me. So rather than continue that habit, I'm going to substitute something out there so I still get the feeling that I want to get from that mealtime or from that food or from that snack. And this is also where fasting is very practical for busy lifestyles, because when we're really, really busy and we're in fight-flight mode, our body's not very good at digesting food. If you're go, go, go all day and you're racing between meetings, this is actually when I do my fasting. Fasting isn't for everybody, and there's a whole other I could talk about that for ages. But there's a whole other topic there on fasting, but food as medicine as well is not eating. So going, okay, there's the bakery there, and there's the other shop there that I don't think that's the most healthy food for me right now, and I'm really busy, and I have a lunch break. Maybe I use this lunch break to do some stretches and meditate, or go for a walk, or move my body. Maybe I'm in such a state of stress, sitting down and eating might not be the right idea right now, because I did eat actually 2 or 3 hours ago. I could actually just use this break from my body and not busy myself with eating. So not eating, also allowing that gap.
In a world where we have constant access to food, we think that being hungry is something that has to be satisfied straight away. But hunger does not mean that we always have to eat instantly. While we are only able to survive for about 4 days without water, a healthy person can survive about 60 days without food. Allow your body a little break in between meals and give it enough time to digest your food properly.
And breathing. Sometimes we consume energy seeking the body's just asking for oxygen. When I consume oxygen, when I'm consuming air and I'm shifting my body posture and I'm opening up the space within me, I'm actually already full of energy. I don't need to eat anything to get energy, and I don't need to eat anything to get that feeling or to reduce that pain. I just need to shift my center of balance. And then the pain, headaches, for example, yes, you can use food to heal a headache, and you can use fasting. Fasting can produce a headache, but it can also heal the headaches. But it's different for everybody. And it's always the lead up things, but it's just that self-reflection of going, before I get to the point where my body's not able to respond, appropriately with insulin, before I get into a pre-diabetic state, or before my thyroid crashes in my burnout process. I mean, thyroid, for example, is our daily rhythm. Our thyroid gland is responding to our daily rhythm and trying to adapt. And, it's so you get cold and shivers and you get hot flushes. It's regulating your energy input and output. It's regulating your heat. And when you eat food, you make yourself hot. And sometimes you need to have little breaks, but if you do too long, it can have a counterproductive effect. But if you feel that you need air and you need a break and you need to move, just because it's lunchtime doesn't mean you need to eat. And same with dinner time, just because it's the social time of day to eat. We can prevent the requirement for medications by looking at those patterns.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially that feeling, I mean, we all know that feeling, I'm hungry, I have to eat. But no, we don't always have to eat only because we're hungry.
And I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. I'm just going to eat the nearest thing. I'm not prepared. That's also very risky. I'm not prepared. I didn't recognize that I had this gap here, that I'm going to feel like I really need something. I'm not prepared. And sometimes we do eat something and then we feel worse. Like, actually, I could have waited. Or next time I'm going to think of future me and recognize there is a potential there where I'm going to miss that train, or I'm going to be late and I'm not going to have that gap there that I thought I was going to have. And therefore I'm going to plan for a future me, because I know I can't control those circumstances, and I'm going to have something in my bag. I'm going to have some fruit. I recommend having something a little bit fatty, a little bit of protein and carbohydrates. So not just a piece of fruit, but a piece of fruit with some almonds, for example, or sunflower seeds. I love sunflower seeds. No, it doesn't always have to be almonds, but yeah, like a handful of sunflower seeds and an apple is very easy to transport. Something alkalizing, so you could have like a lemon water or a thing full of sprouts. It's not for everyone, but I'm a very big fan of sprouts. Of just eating sprouts by the spoonful. So yeah, very seasonal food. Cut up fennel. So I had a lecturer at university who ate fennel like an apple. And everyone's like, that's weird. You're a very weird person. And I was so intrigued, I had to try it. And it is actually really cool and delicious and crunchy and refreshing. And eating the kiwi fruit with the skin on. Wash it. Yes, definitely wash it. But eating the kiwi fruit, just having a kiwi fruit in your bag, having some fennel, having some nuts, some seeds, some leftover lunch from the day before, or some leftover dinner that you just can eat cold. You don't have to prepare anything, but you know what's in it, and you're not sort of at the mercy of whatever corner store is there that you may or may not have time. I mean, waiting in line, the whole process of purchasing takes time. So the time that we could have actually been like, you know what, I'm going to throw something in my bag before I leave. Yeah. That's, if we ever catch ourselves in that situation, we just go, oh yes, I must do that. I must prepare next time for that. And know that the baguette or the croissant was maybe not the best thing, because I might need a nap after that.
Yeah.
Which happens for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end it's all about that connection, and it's all about listening to our bodies, because I think our body really knows what's good and what's bad. And I think we all forget to listen to that inner voice. We all have it, but we stop listening to it.
Well, we numb it away. We distract ourselves from it. So we distract ourselves from pain. Pain isn't bad. It's a signal from your brain to take action about something. So there's a lot of suppression going on, and generally we need to start taking medications when we've been suppressing something for a very long time, and the body's gotten to a point where it's like, I'm not getting what I need, and I've been trying to tell you that for a long time, and now it's gotten to the stage where I've become dysfunctional in this pathway in an effort to adapt. So anything that the body does, if it's sort of maybe not metabolizing fats, if you need to take cholesterol medication, the body didn't do anything wrong. The body is just trying to adapt to circumstances. So if you need to take thyroid medication, it's not because your thyroid's broken. It's because your thyroid's been working really, really hard and adapting, that it's gotten to a point where it doesn't have certain resources, and therefore it's suppressing and stimulating different activities in order to sort of just keep afloat. And it's very important to talk about with the doctor, like reoccurring symptoms that you might think, doesn't mean anything, but dry skin, nails breaking away. So if the skin on the sides of your nails is often peeling or very dry, if your nail top is peeling off very easily, that could potentially be a sign of protein deficiency. That doesn't mean that you're not digesting or not eating enough protein, but that you're not able to absorb what you need, because you're probably eating it in a rush, you're eating it in a form that your body's not able to work with very well. Another good sign to check is if you stick out your tongue, I see this with a lot of people who take protein powders. They have indentations in the side of their tongue. So your tongue's basically like it's like a muscle, and it's got a lot of sensory cells on it, and it very much reflects the health of your digestive tract. And if you've got indentations on your tongue, or if you look in the mirror and it's very grey or white or coated, got a thick coating, it's very important to reflect upon what you're eating regularly. Have a look at the types of foods that you consume a lot of, and perhaps start to reduce the dosage of them and find some other alternatives to like mix it up a bit. But looking at your nails and your tongue, you don't need testing equipment, you don't need to pay, you don't need to get bloods for those. They're very early warning signs. If you're getting skin on your hands getting very dry and cracked, if you have wounds or scratches or bruises or bumps that are not healing quickly, if it's just sort of, it's always there, it's always open, or you can also see on your face if things are not healing, or if your color. If you look underneath your eye, so if you pull the lower lid of your eye down, if you look in the mirror and you look at that area of your eye, if it's not like a beautiful bright pink color, if it's anything other than that, if it's like a very pale pink, or if it's a creamy color, could even be gray color, mention that to your doctor, because they are signs of your body not getting what it needs. And if you mention those things, the doctor knows what that could potentially mean, and then you could prevent a more complicated issue later that would require medication.
And again, it is all about learning to carefully see the signs your body is showing. Because obviously, it is often easier to ignore especially the smaller signs, because they do not limit us at that point. But that's how every disease starts. So listen to your body before it's too late.
But those kinds of things are usually things that can be addressed in the diet if you catch it early enough.
And it's so simple.
It's literally just looking at yourself before you put the makeup on. Look at the color. Look at the skin's condition. Look at your nails, and rather than look at your nails and think, they're dirty. Look at them. Look at the shape. Look at the strength. Bend, push them against the table. Do they tap hard, or are they very soft and rubbery? Do they peeling? Like, you can look at them. That's a reflection, because the reason I'm mentioning those is because, like, the tips of the fingers are not the most priority area of the body. So if the body's lacking something, it's going to take the resources from the areas that are not so in dire need. So if you look at your fingernails and go, they're looking really weak and peeling, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me, but it indicates the fact that they're not like nice and thick and shiny and colourful and like looking as vibrant as I think the women's on the TVs looks, or whatever example that I use for healthy looking hands. It's an indication that your body's getting what it needs from there, because it's potentially not getting what it needs from its diet or from its daily routine. And the thing with the eyes as well, so early warning signs for iron absorption, for example. So they have tiny capillaries in your eye. Antioxidants and minerals that you get through your diet. If you've got adequate flow of those, you're going to be very very bright in color there. But if you're not getting sufficient ones, the flow isn't getting through to the tiny capillaries, and it changes the color. It doesn't mean you're sick. It just means that there's some other things that you could look at before anything does happen, and then if you mention that to your doctor or your health practitioner, you can prevent a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's actually, that's how we should use food, and that's how we should see food. It is medicine, but it also can prevent.
Yes, it's preventative medicine. Yeah. It's
so
enhancing the body's ability
exactly.
to function in its most efficient and in an evolutionary way.
Yeah.
So our mood is a reflection of the condition in our gut as well. So we're very, brain-gut connection. So literally you're putting your mood in your mouth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we all don't understand that. And if we would take care of what we eat, we would not need any drugs.
Well, it's nothing to be also stressed about. I just want to a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves, and there's like a good, bad, and go, oh no, it's unhealthy diet, and some people can feel a bit resistant to thinking, I can't eat perfect all the time. We don't need to eat perfect all the time. That's why we have elimination systems. The body always gets rid of what it doesn't need. So there's no such thing as a bad meal. But the awareness of going, oh, I know what that's going to mean, and I can become accountable, and I know I'm going to eat this whole pizza, and I know why and how I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel great about it. It's delicious. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it. I also know that potentially tomorrow I'm going to feel a little bit heavy and groggy, and I'm going to not have, you know, that big buffet at breakfast. I'm going to wait a little bit and maybe either skip breakfast or, you know, do something lighter. So it's sort of that flow on effect of I know what I'm going to do, and I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to feel good about it. But I'm also accountable if I know what effect it has on my body and my feelings and my mood and my energy, and I can adapt my activities in order to balance that out.
Yeah.
So that I'm not going to feel sick or regret or negative about it, that I can just feel, yeah, I'm accountable and I'm empowered and I know why I feel like this and I know what to do about it and how to change it in the future if I want to stop it repeating. A lot of people don't feel well and they have no idea why, and they're asking questions. Seeing a lot of different practitioners, getting a lot of expensive tests done. But if you sort of look at the patterns and you go, oh, I know what the outcome of that's going to be. I've done that several times. And I definitely think that has a contributing factor to a bigger picture of things that I'm noticing, but I can't necessarily control. The thing about nutrition is you can control what goes in your mouth. The problem is we have so many options often and so many opinions, and it's very emotional and it's very personal. But it's not about the food in itself. It's about what does that mean for your body? Like, what does that mean for your mind? What happens to you? What your relationship with that food? The food doesn't do it, your body does it. But what does the body do with the food? And how does that affect the choices that I make? And yeah, that's the empowering thing, is that you always have a choice, but you don't necessarily know what the choices are doing. And then when you have time to reflect upon it, then you go like, aha, I'm making an informed choice. And I can monitor and heal myself without relying on an external source. I go to them for support. Everyone needs support, but I'm not reliant on that for the answers. I do actually carry the answers for myself. And that shift already in itself, to think that way, is extremely healing.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's super beautiful, I think, when you know that you are able to heal yourself.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, to say it like that, the way, like, just to clarify the way you do there is just it's so simple and it's so obvious, it would seem, but it's not really what we're taught, I suppose.
Yeah, no, definitely
it's not really what we're seeing. We're not seeing the examples of that a lot, where someone's saying, you know, yes, being empowered and feel energized, but in the context of going, you know, my body didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with me if I need to take medicine. I didn't fail. It's not because of my diet. It's because of a multitude of factors that may or may not be within my control. The thing about the food stuff is that a lot of it you can control. So it's not to say that it's the answer. It's not to say that it's a cause, but it's definitely something that you can feel the impact of, and that you can also modify a lot of the time. Not all of the time, but a lot of the time you notice circumstances where you're like, I have a choice here actually. And I'm going to perhaps this time go against what my habit would be, with this knowledge and insight of going, I'm going to work towards something a bit different because I don't want to continue the pattern that I've been on. And it's those moments of going, I had, for example, a beautiful young lady who was feeling really sick and having a lot of complicated issues, and got a lot of expensive tests done. And it ended up she had a condition where she didn't break down certain carbohydrates and proteins very well, but they were really healthy foods. So for the type of lifestyle and diet that she wanted to follow, she was definitely eating in line with what the philosophy was, but actually those foods were not for her.
Yeah.
And she was sick and she wasn't doing well, but she couldn't pinpoint why, because her diet was healthy. And the doctor also couldn't pinpoint it because everything was healthy. But she was definitely not feeling well and something was wrong. And I had a look at it and I noticed the pattern, and not having to change the diet, not having to go against the philosophy or do anything that she felt uncomfortable. All we did was identify which ones they were and swap some things out. And even if you don't get rid of everything, if you just reduce the load on the body can do the rest. So for example, as I mentioned earlier, almonds, sunflower seeds, I swapped out some nuts. There were certain nuts that she was eating frequently, chickpeas, hummus, sort of those kinds of recipes were always included. I noticed a pattern of certain types of fruits she ate pretty much every day. And that's a challenge anyone can do for themselves if they recognize, I always eat these foods. Every single day I have my yogurt, my apple, my, whatever it is. It's not to say those foods are unhealthy or, whatever. It's just recognizing if I want to see a shift, I could actually just go, instead of today an apple, I'm going to have a pear. Or instead of having almonds, I'm going to have some sunflower seeds. To just identify, same with proteins. If we're always having chicken, I'm going to have some fish. If I'm always having tofu, I'm going to try some red lentils. So just swapping things out without needing to compromise this comfort that we have in the routine. We just swap the recipe out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's also less overwhelming.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's very overwhelming. I know a lot of the stuff I already talked about is quite overwhelming. I'm really, really into it though.
Yeah, because I think for many people, it sounds like when it comes to food, it sounds like they have to change their whole diet,
which is absolutely not true.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's a progress, right?
Yes.
So if you feel that something is not right with your body, then it's just you just start.
You can just testing.
Yeah.
You're just testing. I'm just going to swap this out. And see how I feel the next day. I do this also a challenge for workshops. So when I'm working in Berlin, I'm seeing a lot of people who are very, very busy and they're drinking coffee in the morning. And I have a challenge, which everyone also here I share with you, which is very easy to implement if you enjoy drinking coffee, is if you're drinking coffee on an empty stomach, stop doing that and only consume it like they do in Italy as a dessert. So have it at the end of the meal. Or shift the time of day that you have your coffee. So if you're having your coffee at your 2 in the afternoon dip, move that coffee to drink it with your lunch. So just shift it a little bit and try that for a few days. I'm not depriving you of coffee. I'm not doing a radical shift, but you will definitely notice a change in energy flow. I've done this with hundreds and hundreds of people, and anyone who's done it sort of a few times that's tried it, consistently, maybe they did it for 4 days in a row, they all noticed a shift. Like if they were paying attention, they all recognized a change in their digestion, a change in their energy flow, a change in their appetite, in their carbohydrate cravings, in their sports performance, just shifting the little coffee around,
We can learn to see things playfully because it can be so much fun to try new things, right? And of course, we all have our habits and we do not want to break them. But experimenting and trying new recipes and new food can be super nice. And if on top of that, you also start feeling better, it will definitely be fun. It is always just about the way we see things in life. Try to see the positive aspects, even though you might have to get out of your comfort zone.
So you can do that also with teas. You can change the property of the tea. I also did another example where we did a workshop on food as medicine and talking about medications as well. And it was particularly for women, and the oral contraceptive pill was the topic. And we did a tea tasting in it, recognizing where's my energy flow at, and then what smell are you drawn to? So if you smell the tea and if you taste the tea, which tea does my body want right now?
That's incredible.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun because you wouldn't, and it prompts a lot of discussions. So if you have a dinner party, for example, if you have a few friends around who are like into tea, it's a very easy one to do. It's very inexpensive, and you can look up the properties of the teas and look at ones that are more energizing and heating and others that are more cooling, and people will be drawn. They might say, oh, I prefer this type of tea. Maybe you do a mixture, but at the time of day, they will be drawn to one or the other. And the wisdom behind what you're drawn to is beyond what we would normally assume taste-wise. I do that a lot with workshops. So I talk about very sort of serious topics that can be quite challenging and a little bit controversial, mostly fun. And then we do little practical examples of going, okay, how does this actually feel? What is she talking about when I do that? So that's also very important, that we should just test ourselves. So if I have a frequently occurring symptom and something that I'm frequently doing every single day, I'm going to change that thing that it is within my power and reasonable to change, and I'm going to monitor that symptom. That is and anyone can choose their combination. It's your symptom and your habit, and you can identify it, and often with food, that's the most easy one to shift a little bit.
Yeah. But that's one thing I really want to talk about, because you have your own medical history. And you managed to, did you get off medication like 100%?
So I had Hashimoto's. I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is you get cysts on your ovaries, and you ovulate, but your egg becomes a cyst, and it's very inflamed, and you can have pain, and
and I actually think, sorry that I jump in,
please.
many women have both.
Yes, they go together. And there's it's a big topic separately, but I had that personal experience where I had a combination of things. I had muscle pain, I had shoulder injury, I had surgery, I had a lot of stress, lifestyle, sports, and wasn't quite right for a long time. I also had a lot of lung infections and was just frequently sick. If anyone was going to get injured or if anyone was going to be sick, it was me, just for a period of time. I didn't want to be put that way, but that's, that was the category that I was in within my social group, that yes, there's always something wrong with her. She always has to cancel because she has an injury. She's, something's happened. She's not well. So that happened for a while, and then you get a diagnosis and you're like, okay, finally I have a diagnosis. That means I can do something now. That was the sort of frame of mind. And so I had the diagnosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome and Hashimoto's disease. And the Hashimoto's disease, you can't really treat it. If you talk to the doctor about it, they're not really treating the Hashimoto's. They're just giving you the hormone that your body is not producing sufficiently. They're not addressing the cause of the Hashimoto's, which is it's an autoimmune, it's an immune disease. It's not a thyroid disease. It's your immune health that's the issue, not your thyroid. Your thyroid didn't do anything wrong. It's just responding to inflammation that your immune system has adapted to do. So I worked on that, and I experimented, and I did fasting, and I did a vegan diet, and I played with protein sources, and I was at university, so it was at the start of my university studies. So I basically got on the bandwagon of paleo and like every single keto and practiced on myself and monitored my symptoms. And I worked in the student clinic, so I had access to checking my blood pressure and doing some testing and taking some supplements. And I did a big wrong thing, which was to take iodine. I took a supplement with iodine in it because that's associated with thyroid health, and because I have an autoimmune condition, that's not what you should do. And the doctor, if you talk to them, they can explain to you why. So I did a lot of the wrong thing and experimented. And then I recognized what the patterns were after all of that. And and I've had 2 babies, which also, throws the system. And the doctors had told me because of the Hashimoto's and because of the polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's likely you'll have difficulty conceiving, or you'll possibly need to monitor the pregnancies. We had no problems. So the update is, after all of that, I figured out what my patterns were. I figured out what the causes were. I figured out the dietary pattern that suits me best, because the blood sugar has a huge impact on it. So meal timing and movement is extremely important. And I recognized the patterns that work, and I recognized the foods that if I overdo them, they create inflammation in my thyroid. Actually, I've gotten to a level of sensitivity that if I overeat a certain type of food, I can actually feel the inflammation in my thyroid. I've got like a little radar, a little alarm goes off and goes, ooh, that was too much. And then I know to avoid that for a certain period of time. Yeah, so I don't have Hashimoto's disease anymore. There are no antibodies, everything was within range. There is no polycystic ovarian syndrome. So if you didn't have the medical history records, because I had very high antibodies, very, very high inflammation. And if you looked at the tests that come back now, I still go to the doctor for a checkup, but my thyroid, and the specialist confirms that it can grow back, so it can shrink from not being used. And if you take thyroid medication for a long time and your thyroid doesn't produce its own, the drugs take over that work. It shrinks because it's like a muscle, it's not working. So
yeah, sure.
The drug's taking over the action, so it doesn't need to work. But if you reduce the medication, which is what I did over time with my doctor, so did the lifestyle stuff, looked at the other levels, dropped it, and got it down to a very low level. And then when I told them I was planning on getting pregnant, they said, we'll still give you a little bit, just because of the pregnancy and the history. But yeah, I don't have those conditions at all anymore. I don't have autoimmunity. I don't have any reproductive inflammation whatsoever. And all blood tests come back as if nothing ever happened, because the body regenerated itself and it healed. And the doctors agree that it's not common, but it's very possible. And it's very rewarding to go in to do a checkup and they go, there's nothing there. after you've had years of getting tests back and they go, oh no, the values are wrong, we need to up your medication dose. So that was very exciting, and I've had quite a few clients that I've been able to work with their doctor too to do that. So when it was factors that they could adjust, we worked with the doctor and we monitored it and got the medication down, and either to a lower level so that they weren't as dependent on it, but just as a maintenance low level, which has lower side effects and you're not as dependent on it, and it gives the thyroid a chance to grow and become more functional. And I've been able to do that with a lot of people because obviously I had a personal history, so I was drawn to people who also had that, and their antibodies also went down, and all other aspects, their skin, like a lot of people have hair loss, their hair starts growing back, their skin's clearing up, their mood, years of depression and fatigue, and suddenly they've, got a new wind with energy that they're able to distribute and, get creative and excited about things that they thought they wouldn't have the energy for before.
Yeah, but you would always recommend because, you said that you did that kind of self-experiment, you would not recommend
I was
that.
in a safe space.
Yeah.
So I was in a clinic.
Yeah.
I was studying nutrition, and I had supervisors and teachers who I was speaking with regularly, and they told me that I was doing silly things. There was a period of time where I lost a lot of weight and I got very slim. And I was amongst, people studying acupuncture and nutrition and herbal medicine, and they were all in that mindset. So people were very quick to point out to me, you look very slim and very grey. You don't look vibrant. Some people go, oh, I lost the weight. I'm, celebrating. I'm in the weight zone that I want. But if people who know you or are looking at you from a health perspective, some people might say, you look great. You look slimmer. Other people go, yeah, you look slimmer, but where's the vitality? Your vitality's down. It happens with a lot of people who do have something occur where they lose a lot of weight in a short space of time. There's this this vibrancy is missing.
We should really take care that we do not start to emulate these shining examples we see on Instagram or in the movies, and only because society says that this is perfect or that these people are the ideal of beauty, it does not mean that starving yourself to a certain weight is healthy. And what is true beauty? In my opinion, it is something that is coming from the inside. It is that glow, that smile, that energy. And I think that you can only look that way when you nourish your body and give it all the energy and nutrients it needs.
So I was in a safe space. So you need to have people around you who can tell you and that you trust, who can say, that's not the right thing for you. And the best people, especially if you have a complicated health history, or if you don't have people around you who are sort of aware of these things or paying attention or particularly interested in it, to have a health practitioner or more. It's good to have a team.
Yeah.
So someone that you're meeting with who you're clarifying, this is where I've been, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm expecting to go to, and these are my gaps. Can you help me fill in the gaps? So don't just follow what someone tells you to do, but there's an exchange. So we build this together.
Yeah.
It's my body, it's my health, and I'm coming to you as a resource of knowledge that I wouldn't otherwise have access to, and you're helping me guide and recognize when I'm not on the path that's going to get me to where I've said I want to get to. And you need a team of health practitioners, so at least a couple of different people who are working in a way that resonate with what you believe in and who complement each other. So a doctor and a natural health practitioner, and a natural health practitioner who can have dialogue with a doctor is very advantageous.
Yeah.
Because a lot of doctors are very resistant and they're going, don't take supplements and don't do this and don't do that. It's not, if you can talk to each other, and if you're at a level where you can be very frank and feel very comfortable with them, practitioners should work well together to empower the clients or empower the community. So I'm very much a fan of having a nutritionist on the side who you can just check things with, I read this, I heard this in a magazine, my friend said this, whatever, and that you can kind of just fact check and go, is that relevant for me? Should I look into that? Or could you answer some questions about that before you invest a lot of time searching and trying stuff is probably potentially not going to be contributing.
And actually there's so much information out there, so I think if you are not, I studied nutrition as well, and it happens to me that I just Google something and I'm like, what the hell? I don't know what's right and what's wrong.
And we need a filter, and the filter is someone who knows our health history and can go, yep, it is a very interesting topic. It's not really relevant for where you are now, so let's not focus on that now. This is also what I found as a nutritionist. I also need my nutritionist because we need someone else who's looking at it with a different perspective. Yeah. And we don't know everything. No one knows everything.
We can't.
We need an exchange to be like, I don't know how I feel about this yet. I'm going to exchange on it and go, that doesn't feel like it fits for me. But actually, I didn't think of that. And now you're getting me on another path, which is potentially more productive. But yes, definitely filtering through the ideas and the opinions and the types. I'm not a fan of diets. I think eat in a way that makes you feel good. You could eat in a way that's, it's kind of like a keto diet, or it's kind of like a paleo diet, or it's kind of a vegan diet, but there are these foods that are technically not vegan. But you don't need to fit inside the label. It's nice to be like, it's kind of a little bit of this and that, whatever, if you're trying to explain it to someone. But ultimately, it is just how I eat. Yeah. And I feel well with it. I don't need to clarify it, really. I just eat this way and I feel good. And I'm going to keep doing it this way and mix it up every so often. But ultimately, I found my baseline and I'm going to keep it. And that works for me.
Exactly. And I think, as you said, we don't have to always put a label on everything. Yeah. And actually, everybody is different.
Yes.
And we're all individuals, and that's what I think as well, that diets just don't work, because we can't say in general that does work for you and you, because you have to find what works
and
for
that's what
you.
That's what the science is showing now too. That there is no successful diet. There is no diet. We try to do, for public health reasons, a guide of what for the general population, but the food doesn't create the situation. Your body does it. Yeah. So we've got to be able to reflect on what's going on in our body and what the signals are. And if we focus on a diet, you're focusing on the diet. You're not focusing on your body. You're grocery shopping, you're counting calories, you're measuring portions, you're following a recipe. You're very busy with that, but you're not enough focusing on what the body's doing, because you're very busy there. It's very time consuming. So it's worth spending a bit more time, rather than just throw something together and just use the leftovers and have a look at the shopping list next time, but just keep checking in with how you're feeling. And that's the thing. If we focus on the diet, you're taking away this idea that the body is doing the magic.
Everybody is different, and actually our intestinal flora is like a fingerprint. That means that not one person in the whole world has the same intestinal flora like you do. And that actually shows that a diet cannot work, because we all digest food differently. A diet is generalizing, but what works for me does not necessarily work for you. And that is why it is so important to listen to your inner voice, because your body knows naturally what's best for you and your health.
So the diet can be a very functional guide, and we can come up with ideas from it that we find really practical and go, you know what, I'm going to take bits and pieces out of all of these and mash it together for myself, which works in my environment. And that's it. I can't label it, because it's some weeks I'm a vegan and some weeks I'm a carnivore and other weeks I'm a paleo, but it's just the flow, it's just the season. And I think people who are able to do that very confidently and just be like, I'm doing low carb this week, but not because I want to do low carb, but just I feel like I don't want to eat as many of those foods that I was before. I'm having a non-potato, non-banana phase. Yeah. I'm having a, whatever phase, but it's not a diet. It's just a phase I'm going through where I'm following and I'm led by what's feeling nourishing.
I really hope that you've got inspired by everything Sam said, and that it was maybe the eye-opener you needed to change your lifestyle and your diet. And one thing I also wanted to add, even though Sam said it during the interview, there's no right or wrong, and you did not fail when you have to take medication. Sometimes the body needs help, but the long-term goal should always be to support all these healing processes through a healthy diet and to reduce medication as much as possible. For everybody who wants to step deeper into the topic, you will find some interesting links in the show notes, and you will also find more information about Sam's work. And as always, I am very happy if you share my podcast with your friends, your family, and on social media. And a little comment on Apple Podcasts would be very helpful as well. And now I wish you a wonderful start into the new week.